Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. So the official live stream came out with a really nice Ruan Mei design. Her ultimate looks amazing and some of us are super excited and want to build her but don't really know where to begin. This video is going to be meant as a pre-preparation guide for Ruan Mei. Of course, numbers can always change come official launch, but chances are, from what we have seen from the past few patches, by now most of the numbers seem to be finalized based on our estimation, dreaming and whatnot. And the biggest assumption that I need to make is this character, Ruan Mei, is going to have a burst cost of maybe 130. Her burst looks very interesting, very nice design. So I'm going to guess that it's a 130 cost energy. And everything I'm doing, my whole build is going to revolve around that 130 number, that magic number. Of course, if the number comes down, we can remove a bit of energy restoration rate. And of course, if the number goes up, we need to find maybe more rotations or maybe it becomes longer rotation. But anyway, 130, if that assumption holds true, I think here is the build that I'm going for. And most importantly, I'm going for a skill, basic attack combo, which means every rotation that she makes, I will guarantee myself a skill basic attack rotation, which makes her a net positive skill point generator. Something like, for example, like Hanya, for example, something like Tingyun as well, which means that she benefits the entire team as well. So that is like super important. We're going for a 3-turn rotation. If you don't care about rotations or whatnot, your team doesn't need any skill points, you can have a lot more flexibility, but I'm giving you like the bare minimum that you need to have a 3-turn rotation, and anything else, like if you have more money, you have better gear and whatnot, you can always upgrade from there, not to worry as well. So now that we have talked about some basics, we are looking for a 3-turn rotation. What am I mainly focusing on in terms of Lightcones? Out of all of the Lightcones in the game, to have a 3-turn rotation for a relatively small spender, you need two options. The first one, which I recommend, is Mashing Cogs, because everyone has this 3-star Lightcone. You get 8 energy, and when you attack twice, like because it's a skill, basic attack, you get at least 16 energy already in that rotation, which is very good. I think this is probably the go-to if you are a free-to-play, you have no idea what to build. This should always be like one as a backup. If you have a little bit more luck or money in your account, this is the second option that I would recommend. And I personally, in my account, I'm going to be using this, even though I will probably have Bronya's Lightcone on my account also. I like Memories of the Past, super good. And the reason is because it gives her Break Effect, which Ruan Mei skills off with. And on top of that, you also get this 8 energy, which Mashing Cog gives, which is needed for a 3-turn rotation too. So Memories of the Past is optimal. If you don't have this, Mashing Cogs works perfectly fine. The only downside of Mashing Cogs versus this is that you lose this 56% break effect and the 4-star stats. Some of you, of course, will be wondering, EOD, what if I don't have Memories of the Past at S5? What if I only have it at like S1 to S4? Chances are, if you want a 100% guaranteed 3-turn rotation, you do need Memories of the Past at S5. If you have anything lower, like maybe S4, S3, you do need a bit of RNG, maybe getting hit at least once so that you regenerate energy that way. But other than that, S5 guarantees a 3-turn rotation based on the build that we have. So caveat aside, we talked about Lightcones. Other options that you have is of course her signature Lightcone, which we won't touch on right now. If any of you are planning pool for that, do check out our video when we release it again. Of course, the other alternative some of you have is But the Battle Isn't Over, which increases 10% energy restoration rate. My honest opinion is I don't really like But the Battle Isn't Over as much because it doesn't guarantee a 3-turn rotation. 10% energy restoration rate is not as helpful as the 8 energy here, and at the same time Memory of the Past gives break effect which she needs. This one is better used on like other characters, even for example like Tingyun, or even other characters, for example like Bronya herself. You can save this for other characters. I highly recommend Memories of the Past. No one uses this damn artifact anyway, this Lightcone, so just put it on her. I think it's perfectly fine. So Lightcone, we talked about that. We talked about rotations that we are targeting. Now let's talk about the next thing, which is Relics. I will share with you my build that I'm going for, and you guys can adjust accordingly based on what you're looking for your team, for your own build as well. I am running a 124.4% energy restoration rate, and this is super critical for a 3-turn rotation, especially if you want it guaranteed. If you get hit, you kill targets, of course you have a bit of leeway, but the faster she outs, the better. Generally, if you do not have her at high whale territory, Eidolon 6 and stuff, the more she outs, of course, I think it's going to be a lot better for a Harmony character that you want the uptime. So 124.4% I think is super good. Other than that, I'm trying to go for as much break effect as I can. The threshold to meet, like if you are in the game engine here, you haven't started the battle, the number that you want to see over here would be, if let's say you're pre-farming, will be somewhere around like 125. I think 125 will be the minimum, because thereafter, if she has any tracers, she has, for example, any maybe effects that buff her break effect, it might take it up to the number that we are looking for, which is ultimately 180. And any on the excess of 180 break effect, I think is going to be super good also. She still does more damage from break effect. That's where her kit mainly revolves around. So I would target minimum 125. Anything else is a very nice bonus. And of course, the next thing some of you will be asking is like, EOD, what speed do I have for the character? Does she need to be super fast or does she need to be super slow? From what we are seeing now, or what we heard from the official live stream, is her uptime is based on her turn order. What that means is her speed doesn't matter as much as other characters where speed is like super critical. Because the slower she goes, her uptime is still going to be more or less the same. The most important thing about this character is you want to make sure your speed is in line with the rest of the team. And what do I mean by that? If you have characters like Hanya in your team, like you can see I have 181 speed, I have my Kafka at 159 speed, and my Zealer, for example, at 144, which can go up to 200 plus since she's E6, and she has a lot of speed buffs in her. In that case, if you have like a very slow character here, she won't be able to keep up with the skill point generation because of her skill point positive nature of skill, basic attack, which means that that positive gain is not felt as much. So you just want to keep your speed in line with the rest of the team. That's the only thing you need to care about. You don't have to like make her 200 speed or something. Don't bother too much about that. Energy restoration and break effect is more important for this character. So I have a modest amount of 146. 145 generally is nice if you're running Talia, Kingdom of Banditry builds. So that aside, now let's talk about the relics that we are going to. We have a huge mouthful. We talked about stats. We talked about some key ones. Here is where it gets a little bit varied depending on how stringent you are with that 3-turn rotation. Of course, as we mentioned, whatever build that I have for you, this 124 here with this Mashing Cogs Lightcone or the Memories of the Past, and the break effect of 125 minimum, this is the bare minimum threshold, assuming that you do not get hit, you do not kill targets at all, we are just doing a skill basic attack rotation, guarantees 100% uptime. This is where it changes a bit. If you don't mind like maybe having a bit of risk that it goes beyond 3 turns if you don't get hit and stuff, you can switch the Lightcones up or the Relics up, but I'll share with you what I'm using first as the bare minimum. And I'm using a 2-piece Panacony Land of Dreams. This is the thing that helps me hit the 124% mark so that I can have the threshold of getting 130 energy after she completes a 3-turn rotation. If I don't have this 5%, I will be slightly shy, I think like 2 or 3 energy shy, which is very frustrating, especially if you have no other character in your team that gives you energy. If you have Huohuo on the same team, of course it changes everything up, you can have a whole lower amount, but I'm just saying like in isolation, she does want to have 124% energy restoration rate, and that's why I'm using the Panacony Land of Dreams. I don't know what team she's going to be playing in, probably not energy regen teams with like Huohuo, and that is like something that I'm thinking of. So, what am I looking for? I'm running a link rope that has energy regeneration rate, and mainly I'm focusing on the break effect as much as I can find. 16.2% I think is pretty nice. For the Planisphere, I think you have a few options that you can go. You can go ice damage bonus, you can go HP, you can go attack percentage. Mainly I'm looking for this to balance my stats. I just want it to be on set and I want it to balance my stats. HP percentage is not a bad thing so that she doesn't become too squishy, because she's not going to be using like 5-star Lightcones. If you're using Memories of the Past, she's going to be at a 3-star Lightcone HP scaling. HP definitely makes it much better, doesn't die as quickly as well, not that squishy. So I think this is pretty fine, but mention the alternatives too. So this is the 2-piece. We'll talk about some like options later on when we get a bit more adventurous for some of you who can't find like the perfect gear. But I'm just talking about the standard bare minimum that you guys should aim towards to first. And now for the 4-piece, ideally, like if you're talking about the most optimal, you want to go for a 4-piece Thief of Shooting Meteor. Of course, here is unfortunate that when the wearer inflicts weakness break, enemy regenerates 3 energy. It would have been nice if this one was like anyone on your team weakness breaks, you regenerate energy. I don't think she's going to weakness break a lot, so this 4-piece is not as critical as the 2-piece here, because this is basically like free stats. As you can see, unfortunately, I couldn't find any break effect here. But if you can go for the full 4-piece here, you get a nice 32% break effect in the subs already, which makes that 125 threshold a lot easier to hit, especially if you're going for maybe a Mashing Cogs instead. So you have this. This is my gloves, not very good. This is my Messenger Traversing Hackerspace. I do like speed on most of my characters, and this is where I find a lot of my break effect from, because I farm this domain a lot. So I'm mainly looking for break effect here This one is for completing the set. And for the body here is a bit tricky. I would say HP percentage, attack percentage is a lot more, or HP percentage probably will be my go-to, especially if you're using mashing cogs. I want her a bit chunkier. Defense percentage is also okay for a more defensive. Don't want her to get like sniped down or something. So sustain is good. Crit rate here, I'm just using it really because it's completing my set and it has very high amounts of break effect, which is what I need. I don't think crit rate is optimal on this character. She does a lot of damage from break effect instead of the crit rate. So I think that I would swap this out to HP percentage, but that is just my personal thought. For now, I'm okay if you like using this. There's not much detriment because I'm using a 4-star Memories of the Past Lightcone, so she won't be like super squishy. And last but not least, of course, I'm using a speed boot with a break effect. I think speed likely is going to be much better for her to balance out her ratios and stat line pool. And that is my build for my Ruan Mei. But let me talk about some other sets that I think will be very interesting, especially if you guys have a different thought. Maybe you are looking for a different way of playing the particular character. The first thing that can be changed is, of course, as mentioned, 4-piece Thief of Shooting Meteor, which will help you hit your threshold much better. She's a character that doesn't really need speed. That's why this 6% speed doesn't really matter too much. The break effect will benefit her a lot more than that 6% speed, especially since I think it's really strong. For the planar ornaments is where it can change a little bit. The options really are Penacony, Land of Dreams, or you can switch to Talia, Kingdom of Banditry. The question is, how much do you value a guaranteed 3-turn rotation? This 5% is usually what hits that threshold, especially since it's barely making it. Of course, unless the enemy hits you or you have maybe some kind of energy funneler. If you have an energy funneler in your team, like you're playing with Huohuo, you're playing with maybe a double hyper carry that somehow funds energy for the rest of the team, some way to distribute energy, like maybe you have a character like March 7, so you put the aggro on, for example, Ruan Mei, and then Ruan Mei gets hit. In that case, I would switch to Talia, Kingdom of Banditry. This is super efficient because for the 2-piece, you get 36% break effect, which helps you push that number much higher so she can do more damage from the Ice Weakness break effect and her whole overall kit. 145 is the threshold as we mentioned previously. That's why I was targeting 145, so you can get this extra 20% break effect. In the screen, when you're using a 2-piece banditry, for any of you who just want to know, this 20% will not be seen in the character screen. You have to go into the battle, then you will have this additional 20%. And yeah, that is basically some stuff that you need to know. Anyways, that is my whole preparation guide. I think some of the things will be very useful for you. And if any other questions, do leave it in the comment below. Again, all of these numbers are based on thoughts and based on what we dream so far. Everything is subjected to change, but I think more or less it will set very good grounds as the bottom line going to official launch. And thank you so much for watching. See you next video.